Merry meet and welcome to Soulful Sunday here at Ariel's Corner. This is Ariel Gatoga and we are streaming live here on YouTube. Moderating today are the lovely Honeypaw and the lovely Shirley. Thank you so much, moderators. And also I see Dre and Jennifer. So thank you all of our moderator team for being here. But our official moderators for today are Honeypaw and Shirley. I am so happy to be here, and I hope you are too. And I hope you're having a great day. We will be off on Monday and Tuesday, so we'll be back after today on Wednesday at 10:15 a.m. Pacific for Witchy Wednesday. And we are here Wednesdays through Sundays. We have, at least for the time being, shut down our tarot channel just because I need a little bit more time. And so I'm just going to focus a little bit more on Ariel's Corner and on some of the stuff going on in my family. So I appreciate your understanding, and I'm excited to move forward. Our website is located at arielscorner.com, arielscorner.com. That's where you can find all of our free everything. We have free courses there. We have free booklets, free guided meditations, free lectures, and all kinds of cool stuff. So I hope you check it out. If you'd like to support us, you can send a donation by going to paypal.me/Ariel Gatoga, paypal.me/Ariel Gatoga. Or here on YouTube, you could always use a super sticker or super chat live on the chat thread, or a super thanks on a restream. We do appreciate your support. Another way to support us is by visiting our shop. Our shop is located at arielscornershop.com, arielscornershop.com, and I am just finishing a cup of coffee right out of my Ariel's Corner owl mug, and I love it. And a lot of people love my mug that don't know anything about Ariel's Corner or the craft or anything like that, because I am pretty secretive about my involvement with the craft. So that's one thing I love about some of these mugs is there's no specific overt craft lingo or anything like that. It doesn't even have Ariel's Corner logo or anything on it. So you can be stealth and still use our mugs and our t-shirts. All right, so let's see. If we have a chat thread going here, please chat amongst yourselves. We do not have a premiere today because I do work kind of early on Sundays, so I don't do too many premieres on Sundays anymore. But I did upload a new video, if you're interested, on the channel here, and that is on the broadcasting talismans, those basic talismans that I use. So I wanted to do a more in-depth video on that for people that had questions about that. So I hope you enjoy that, and I hope you find it useful. Okay, I think that does it for the announcements. Let's get going. Excuse me. If you are in a place where it is safe and appropriate, please close your eyes and begin to take some nice, long, slow, deep, relaxing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, feel more light and peace entering your body and mind. With each exhale, allow all the tension in your body to drain away, along with anything in your mind that you do not want. Inhaling peace, exhaling as you let go. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. In the center of our circle, a bonfire blazes forth, and it lights us and the grove with a sacred golden light. This is the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it easily and efficiently burns away all that is unlike itself, leaving us safe and serene. Into this space, we invoke the presence of our Creator. To many of us, our Creator reveals themselves to be a mother and father, a goddess and God. We also invite the presence of our angels, our guides, and our teachers. We ask that they join us and guide us as we walk upon the way, helping us to become more happy, more loving, more peaceful, and more magical people. Blessed be. I frequently get requests to lead rituals or to create videos or lectures to show people what they can do in order to heal the world. And I don't really operate like that. And I mentioned this on one of the tarot readings, and I probably did it in a very quick manner that didn't explain myself, because I did get a little backlash from some people that they thought I was being glib and uncaring about the world. And so I wanted to talk about that because I'm neither glib nor uncaring about the world. Otherwise, I wouldn't do what I do. But I can understand where you might think of it that I'm being that way. From my point of view, our power does not reside in going out and trying to change the world as much as it resides in our ability to bless the world. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think you should do things to change the world. There are all kinds of things that people do that can have a positive effect on the world, such as activism, getting involved in politics and voting, letter writing campaigns, all kinds of things, protesting. There's all kinds of stuff that people do that can have a positive effect on the world. But none of those things can be very effective if they don't have a metaphysical power behind them. The problem with doing magic to, quote, heal the world is that everybody has their idea of what healing the world is supposed to look like. And so then what our magic starts to become is us imposing our will upon the world based on our ideas of what healing is supposed to look like. And it's very challenging to get 5 people together to agree upon what healing the world is supposed to look like, let alone large numbers of people to agree on what that healing is supposed to look like. So it really is, at best, a wasted effort to try to bring people together to change the world through magic. And I know that most people don't want to hear that because they want us to be able to just wave a wand and have certain conditions change. But it's impossible for us to agree on what those changes are supposed to look like. And that's because the ego mind doesn't really want change. The ego wants change in that it will allow us to rearrange the furniture, but it doesn't want us happy. It does not want us happy. It does not want us free. It does not want things to work out for us here. And for as long as we are working with the ego to try to, quote, change and heal the world, the best we can come up with is rearranging the furniture. Right? If your house has toxic carbon monoxide poisoning leaking into it, and you decide, well, let's put the sofa over there because that'll feel better. That's kind of what we do when we try to, quote, heal the world with our magic. Because we think our vision of what a healed world looks like is better than what's actually happening. But you see how that is the ego, right? My vision of the world is going to be the one that's better than this. Anything's better than this. My vision is going to heal the world. That's ego right there. Now, if we were to shift just slightly in our approach, instead of saying, I want to heal the world, I want to change the world, I want to make everything different based on my agenda, even though we will couch it in different language that sounds very spiritual. If we shift just slightly into saying, I'm only here to bless the world. I'm only here to bless the world. I don't know what's going to make the world look better. I don't know what a healed world will look like. I don't know what to do about this situation before me. I don't know what any of it means. I am at a loss. I have no clue. But I do know that there is a power that does have a better idea than I do, that does have a better idea than what we are experiencing. And I'm going to connect to that power and be nothing more than a conduit to bless the world with its vision. And then our responsibility is what's in front of us. And that's what I mean by saying you can't save the world. That's not your job, is to save the world. Let the world save itself. Bless the world and do what's in front of you to do. You will be given very clear assignments when you do that. When you're willing to bless the world and to be a servant to the Spirit that is here to offer healing to the world, and when you cease saying, I know what to do, I know what's going to be better, I know the right thing, when you stop that and you say, I don't know, but I'm willing to be the conduit through which the blessing flows, then you're surprised when things work out in ways that you didn't expect because you didn't know. And so if it can happen on a small scale in your interactions, day-to-day, personal interactions, imagine the ripple effect that might be having. There's always been this idea that there's this small kind of group of people somewhere, maybe up in the Himalayas or something, and because they sit with relaxed bodies and minds and bless the world and keep their minds focused on the infinite and bless the world, their presence is the reason why we are still here. That if it wasn't for those few wise people doing that, everything would be on fire. Now, I don't know that that's true, but the image is interesting because the idea is that it doesn't take everybody. It doesn't take everybody changing their minds at once. It only takes a few focused minds who are willing to bless the world rather than condemn it, and who are willing to say, I don't know, but I'm willing to be the conduit for blessing through which healing occurs. It only takes a few of us doing that to make a big difference. And the ego loves to say, well, if that's true, then why is everything getting worse? And that's because, and the answer to that is, how do you know it's getting worse? How do you know this isn't part of the better? How do you know? It looks worse. Yes, I will admit it. It does look worse. But we don't know the big picture. We don't know. But what we do know is what's in front of us. What we do know is that we can accept the assignment to be a conduit of blessing. And out of that blessing, all kinds of directions come. You may get directed to that you need to go lead a march, or that you need to do a protest, or that you need to have a letter writing campaign, that you need to have a sit-in, whatever it is that Spirit is having you do. But you're not doing it because you decided those things are necessary. You're no longer rearranging the furniture in the house that's being gassed. You're instead doing what you're being taught, what you're being guided to do by Spirit, so that you can, turn off the gas, so that you're no longer in that toxic environment. And very frequently, what we are guided to do, and we do because we know that that's the right way to be, because that's part of our blessing the world, is to follow that up with the action that we are guided to take. More often than not, we don't have any clue what kind of impact that's going to have. We don't know. But the ego says, well, if I don't see results, then it didn't mean anything. Then it wasn't real. It didn't have any effect. Now, if I listen to my ego every time it says, well, everything you do, Ariel, doesn't really have that big of an effect. I mean, I hear that from it every single day. Then that would mean that I wouldn't do anything, and that nothing that I do would reach anybody, and it wouldn't have any effect, because I'm saying it does, because I've already made up my mind that my little role here is insignificant. So you don't want to get caught in that trap of it either needs to all heal before my very eyes or nothing's working. Or the idea that my perceived small contribution isn't having a lasting huge impact. Because that's the ego. It wants to compartmentalize everything. It wants to make everything big and small. It wants to make everything significant and insignificant for you. And if it can convince you that you're small, that you're little, and that your little insignificant little contribution and blessing is like a little drop in the ocean and makes absolutely no difference, so why bother? Then it's done its job. It's part of the whole self-destructive concept of what the ego is. But you see, the Spirit doesn't see it that way. Spirit doesn't see big and small, significant and insignificant. Your contribution and your ability and willingness to be a conduit of blessing for the world is just as significant as anything that anybody in the entire world could do. It's just as significant. And if you're willing to be used for that purpose of blessing the world, your contribution is maximal. And the effects of your contribution, are maximal. So it's all about, just like with anything else, what voice am I listening to? If I'm listening to the ego, I'm getting upset. I'm getting tense. I'm feeling rushed. I'm feeling insignificant. I'm feeling like I have to duck and cover. I'm feeling like nothing's working. Everything's getting worse. It's a scary world. On and on and on and on and on. If I'm listening to Spirit, I say, I don't know. I don't know what anything means. All I know is that I'm here to be a place of blessing. So I'm going to start with blessing what's in front of me. And then when I hear a piece of news, I'm going to bless that. I'm going to bless everything that comes into my mind. And the more I'm willing to be the action of blessing rather than the action of fear, then the more effect I'm having on the world. But those effects are much bigger than what my eyes will report back to me. Because if all I did was go along with what my eyes saw, then I wouldn't want to do anything. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing anything because nothing would make any difference. If I believed that the only thing that mattered is what I saw with my own eyes, then I wouldn't bless anything. Because yes, sometimes I bless something and it changes before my eyes, but sometimes I bless something and I don't hear about the change until many years later. And sometimes I don't hear about it at all. But that doesn't mean that blessing was for naught. Each and every blessing has maximal effect. So if you want to, quote, heal the world, you have to stop looking at the world as something that needs your healing. Instead, recognize that everything that is in front of you, either in your perceived physical world and or mental world, is there for you to bless. And to the degree that you are unwilling to bless it, is the degree to which you are unwilling to be a force for healing in the world. And like I said, when you bless something, you may get very inspired that means that you have to take your fight to the world. Sometimes just look at Joan of Arc. She blessed the world all the time, but it's not like that it stopped with that. She listened to that inner guidance and took her fight to the world. And so sometimes that's what you'll be called on to do too. But that's not necessarily the case. And you'll be told. You'll be shown. It's like Spirit says, if you say, I bless this world. I bless what is in front of me. Spirit, what would you have me do? What do I do now? Spirit usually says, I'll let you know when it's time. I'll let you know when we get there. Because Spirit knows better than to give you something to plan for. Right? Spirit knows that it's best if you just are shown and told in the moment. Because if you start planning for things, then what takes over? Your ego. The ego mind takes over because the ego loves planning for things. And a lot of the ego's plans are simply there to waste your time. To waste your time so that you aren't open and receptive to the instructions of Spirit in the moment. And so our job really is to become finely tuned instruments of intuition. And when we can live our lives intuitionally like that, we truly live a magical life. And we truly do make a difference in the world. But it's not because a ton of us got together and decided what we thought the world needed, and we're all going to create a thought form together based on our agreed upon vision. And I'm not saying that that's not necessarily a good thing sometimes either. If Spirit really wants that, it'll make sure that happens. I mean, it's happened before, and it will probably happen again. But it's not because those people decided on it. It's because those people were willing to say yes when Spirit decided on it. Because we have to get past the ego idea that we know what to do, that we know what the world needs, that we know what's wrong with the world, and we know what will be right with the world. Remember the phrase, the road to hell was paved with good intentions. That whole myth of Lucifer is there in order for us to remember that big, bright ideas sometimes are not what this world needs. What the world needs is intuition. What this world needs is blessing. What this world needs is willingness to willingness to stand for the light, to stand for the healing, to keep our minds open for that. So I do think that there's a lot we can, quote, do to heal the world magically, but it's not necessarily what you think it's supposed to look like. It's not necessarily everybody get the same herbs. We're all going to sprinkle herbs together. It's not necessarily, it could be, but it's not necessarily that. It's not necessarily that we're all going to come together for the same ritual. It's not necessarily that we're all going to meditate at the same moment on the same vision. It's more that we are willing to, in the moment, be the conduit for blessing that the world needs. The conduit for blessing. That's huge, isn't it? When you think about it, being willing to say yes to blessing the world where it needs it. Now, if that doesn't stoke ideas of what healing is supposed to look like, I don't know what will. It's not so much that we are superimposing our will upon the world and focusing a new thought form because we have this idea of what's going to make the world better. It's that we are opening our mind to Spirit so that we are nothing more and nothing less than priests and priestesses of Spirit, where we are here to dispense blessing. And we do it indiscriminately. That's the other thing. The ego says, well, they deserve my blessing, but they don't. They're the problem, and they're not. You can see how arrogant that is, I'm sure. I know everything. I know everything. I know so much that they definitely don't deserve my blessing. They're the problem. They can F off. That's what the ego wants us to do. And frequently what we're called to do is allow ourselves to bless the people and situations that we don't agree with. that we don't like, that we are out of harmony with. And when we can do the hard work of looking at somebody in the world that we seethe over and say, well, that's what's in front of me, and I'm only here to bless. Therefore, I have to step back. I have to stop being so arrogant. I have to stop thinking that I know who deserves my blessing and who doesn't. Can you imagine if oxygen said, well, I don't know. Some of you are worthy, but some of you aren't. Some of you can have life, but some of you, Can you imagine how hard it would be to live knowing, well, did I ever do anything that's a little bit off? Is oxygen just going to say no to me? No, oxygen is there for everybody. So if oxygen is there for everybody, good and evil alike, my blessing has to be there for everybody, regardless of whether or not I see them as good or evil. Until I can do that, I have no business, quote, trying to heal the world, because that's not healing. That's not healing. Only people that vote the way I do can get healed or blessed. Only people that think the way I think can get healed or blessed. Only people that aren't mean can get healed or blessed. Only people that don't have mental illness can get healed or blessed. Only people who've never abused anybody can get healed or blessed. Only people who've never victimized another person can get healed or blessed. When in fact, it's those very people that need your blessing more than anybody. If they only got a little of your blessing, who knows how much better their behavior might be? Perhaps, that's not necessarily up to me to know, because like I said, I don't know. But that's the highest place to be. I don't know. And oxygen doesn't know. Oxygen doesn't know your history. Oxygen doesn't know if you, quote, deserve to be kept alive or not. It's not for oxygen to know. If oxygen knew that, oxygen might make a choice. And that's not what the infinite wants. The infinite wants everybody to be enlivened by the life force. So when we can learn how to bless like oxygen keeps us alive, we are actually doing something. We're actually doing something to raise the vibrations of the world. We're actually doing something that allows for healing in the world. But until we're willing to do that, we're really doing nothing more than trying to rearrange the furniture in a home that is being bombarded with carbon dioxide. Or is it carbon monoxide? Carbon monoxide. We are just rearranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic as it's sinking. Right? But the blessing that we are willing to give is nothing but extra lifeboats. Is nothing but the fire squad that comes in and fixes it and removes the poisonous gas. We are like the white blood cells in the bloodstream of humanity when we bless. But when we don't bless, or when we put huge conditions on our blessing based on what we think we know, we're not working like the white blood cells anymore. We're actually part of the problem more than we realize. So it is hard. It is challenging. It is difficult when you look at things this way. But we also become very aware, acutely aware, of what our role really is here. We are here to bless. We are here to be priests and priestesses of spirit. And if we don't take that role seriously, that's okay too. But then that's what we get. We get what we get. We can't go any further because we're unwilling to use our power the way that it was meant to be used. And that is the highest use of our power, is to bless the world and to bless the people in the world indiscriminately. So you have a lot of power to heal the world, but it's not based on your agenda. It's based on your willingness to not know what it's supposed to look like. It's based on your willingness to be nothing more than a conduit for blessing and to do so indiscriminately. And that can be challenging, but you can also try it and see. You can also try it and see before you decide to reject the idea completely. You can give it a shot and see if you don't feel much more certain that you're onto something, that you are part of the healing team, that you're one of those people, let's say in the Himalayas, that's keeping this world from burning down. Because you have that power within you. There's nobody more holy than you on this planet. Not one person, past, present, or future, that is more holy than you. The only difference between a holy person and a non-holy person is their willingness to be that, is their willingness to accept that role. And if that's your role, then nothing else matters. And everything else falls into place for you too, by the way. If you're willing to be the conduit for blessing in this world, everything in your personal life falls into place as well. It's supposed to. And if it doesn't, then you have some more work to do. You have more work to do as well. So it's not uncaring to work on what's in front of us. It's not uncaring to not necessarily want to rush into the world and heal it. What's uncaring is, and glib, is thinking that you know what to do. That's arrogant, thinking you know what's going to make everything better. Being in the place of not knowing is humble. And when you're in a place of not knowing and humility, you are also in a place of great power to change. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I so appreciate you. Until next time, blessed be. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. Ariel, I've had some success with magic these past 2 years, but there's still a handful of big topics in my life that are still an issue. What do you do after you've cast for everything? Welcome to the club. Everybody has stuff. So as always, if it's not working, it's possible that it's not within your sphere of influence and you're trying to move too far too fast. So the first thing I recommend is that you break things down a little bit more, in areas of your life, not necessarily trying to heal the whole thing, but let's pare it down. Sometimes it's about sphere of influence more than anything. Is it still okay to say F them because I got to admit I lose my patience? Of course it is. Of course it is. We all go through that. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's that whole 5 of Wands phenomenon in the tarot. Sometimes we're just like, enough already. I'm so sick of all of you. Right? And that's fine. It's fine to have those moments, but we don't want to live that way. That we don't want that to be our lifestyle, that everything is F them. F them, F them. That's the problem, is everybody's F them, F them. That's what everybody is thinking right now. And that's why everything is so polarized, because nobody wants to bless anybody unless they're in their camp. So, yes, of course it's okay to say that. Of course it's okay to go through that. Absolutely. And you're not harming yourself or anybody when you allow yourself to feel that. But at the same time, then it's time to get to work. And Spirit's never going to give you something you can't handle. So if you get up in the morning and you say, okay, what's on the agenda now? What is on my agenda today? You'll be shown. It's the people in your life. It's the situations in your life. It's not necessarily the people on the news and the people online. In fact, a lot of times, too much time spent watching the news and being online is a way that we avoid doing our assignments. that are in front of us to do, and not understanding that what's in front of us to do that doesn't seem global in nature, that doesn't seem like it's that powerful, has a ripple effect that is global in nature. And we just don't understand that because we're unwilling to accept that we don't know. It's hard, I know. It's hard. This is not an easy place to live. Have you noticed our world? It's just not an easy place to live, but it can be. It can be, but it just takes a change in the way that we see it. It takes a change and a shift in the way that we're willing to perceive it. And that's why it's so wonderful to have a relationship with that inner guidance, so that you can take things one thing at a time. What's in front of me? What are we doing today? Not what is the big picture. Big picture sometimes is an ego ploy to make us feel like there's no hope. Big picture is a way that the ego loves to make us feel exasperated and just give up. So sometimes big picture is helpful, but very frequently big picture is detrimental. So if you can pare things down to the agenda at hand that you and your inner guide has for you, you're doing many things at once. This is total multitasking. You're working on you, which is also working on the world. There's no separation. That's why I love practical magic. If you do it in the right way, your money spell helps the world. Your relationship spell helps the world. Because what you're doing to work on yourself helps the entire thought form, the entire group mind, in ways that are more powerful than the ego wants you to believe. Right? All right. Well, thank you for those great questions. And thank you so much to the amazing moderators. Today we had Honeypot and Shirley. And I also see Jennifer and Dre. And if I've missed anybody, I'm sorry. Thank you to our amazing moderator team. And we'll be back on Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, blessed be.